Oh nice, new Silent Hill F trailer. Let's just take a look at that real quick. Here we go again. Silent Hill F, the mysterious upcoming title in our favourite horror franchise, finally pulls back the curtain and shows the world what we can expect in terms of the gameplay and the story themes in a brand new trailer. We also get the release date, the 25th of September 2025, and that'll be important to a point I'm going to make in just a minute. So what do we know about the game? Well, for a start, this isn't Silent Hill 5, alright? And I know that should be pretty obvious because it's not called Silent Hill 5, but I was hearing a lot of voices online saying that it was Silent Hill 5. But no, this is a standalone title, a spin-off. The series producer Motoi Okamoto recently said in a post on the PlayStation blog, quote, "As a standalone spin-off, you can enjoy this game on its own as an introduction to the series. The game also contains Easter eggs for longtime fans," end quote. This story follows a schoolgirl in 1960s rural Japan named Hinako Shimizu, and her group of friends whose hometown becomes engulfed in a thick fog, typical, whereby horrific monsters appear and things get weird as one would expect in a Silent Hill game. The game is said to feature the core idea of beauty in horror or beauty in terror, as is evident by the cool looking spider lily motif that appears when monsters are around, which featured heavily in all three trailers so far. Hinako is said to have some hard decisions to make too, and I quote, "Decisions that will shape her ultimate fate. Will she choose to embrace the elegance and beauty, or will her path lead to her madness and horror? Is she doomed to succumb to the insanity unfolding before her, or can she face her fears and find a way to escape?" It's unclear if these decisions are baked into the game already, or if us the players have to make them, because as we know, Silent Hill is a series known for its multiple endings. But of course, there could be other conditions to meet to get the alternate endings rather than just a few A, B, or C decisions in the story. Now this trailer goes pretty hard on the combat, and the first thing that goes through people's minds was, for the love of the order, why do KONAMI still make combat trailers for Silent Hill games when this is the last thing the series is known for? But then you take just a few extra seconds to read a bit more about the game, and it basically confirms one of my fears for it. This is a very heavily combat-focused entry to the series. So much so that it sounds borderline Souls-like. And this is a quote from Okamoto-san himself. Lastly, the game features unique combat. The encounters are as challenging as the obstacles that Hinako must overcome in life. The combat will have a heavier focus on melee and be more action-oriented compared to last year's Silent Hill 2. Now, I don't know about y'all, but I didn't find the Silent Hill 2 remake very combat dry. There was quite a lot of it. It was at least combat moist, and at sometimes I would say combat sodden. Silent Hill F was confirmed via the game's ratings a few weeks ago, and I'm sorry if this is a bit of a light spoiler for some of you, to not feature any firearms. It's a purely melee-focused game with challenging encounters, quote-unquote. That leans more into the idea that this is more of a Souls-like than a regular action combat game. And I personally love Souls-like and Soulsborne games, but do I really want a Silent Hill coat of paint on that genre? Not really, no. There are other concerning factors too. The way in which the combat is actually presented in this trailer looks a little bit naff to me. The hit stop and shockwaves when striking an enemy suck any sense of realism out of the scene, and it makes it look very much like an anime game. Hit stop is used to convey a sense of hard impact and give a satisfying response to the player. Think things like Monster Hunter's Greatsword, for example. But in Silent Hill, should we really be feeling like a powerhouse against the manifestations? I mean, in this example, we are literally a teenage girl swinging a pipe around. And later on a spear, apparently. Do we really have the upper body strength to be landing these shots? It also makes me feel like it's a bit of a cop-out for making reactionary and believable impact animations. Screw all that, let's just use a bunch of VFX and hit stop to convey impact rather than something more realistic, dynamic, and brutal. And it could just be the style they're going for, but I don't know, it looks a little bit cheap to me. If this is supposed to be a bit more arcade-like with its delivery, then fair enough, that's their choice, but sadly that is me kind of tuned out at that point. That's not Silent Hill. At least not the Silent Hill I love. Okamoto-san saying that this is a perfect entry point for newcomers is of course a marketing tactic to drive more sales and convince even the Silent Hill curious to take the risk and buy it. But this will be nothing like the other Silent Hill games, for better or for worse, so I would hardly call it an entry point. You wouldn't even be able to say, oh, if you loved Silent Hill F, you're going to love Silent Hill 2 Remake, because they're just so vastly different. And I hate to be that guy again, but Hinako's walk cycle looks really weird to me too. And I know this is going to sound like a nitpick, but this walking animation looks really stiff and it doesn't really look like how a Japanese schoolgirl would actually walk. It feels very Unreal Engine animation pack. I did think that James walked funny in the early footage we saw of Silent Hill 2 Remake, and then that actually turned out really fine. But it is worth noting that again, the walk cycle seems a little distracting. And it's not all the time too, like when there are monsters around, Hinako seems to cower a bit and look a bit more vulnerable, which is nice, but when the coast is clear, she's walking like Tobey Maguire did in Spider-Man 3. I would say overall, graphically though, it does look really nice. This trailer was shot on the PS5 Pro for reference, so we don't know what the base PS5 performance or visual will look like. I mean, I'm going to be running this on a 5090, so this doesn't really concern me because I'll just have it all cranked right up to the max. But for those on consoles, they might be interested to know that we haven't seen base PS5 or Xbox Series performance yet. The environments especially are really appealing, and the character models look good enough in my opinion. I really like how Hinako's uniform gets torn to shreds after she takes a lot of damage. We can see a few shots where she's looking a little worse for wear. Now I would imagine if this does go the kind of Souls-like route, when you rest at checkpoints, her health gets mended along with her uniform so that it can be torn to shit again. Otherwise, I think she'd be down to her underwear by the time you get to the end of the game. And we are not turning Silent Hill into a Guna game, okay? There'll be mods for that. The monsters look a little bit meh to me so far too. We have these sort of flesh mannequins with knives and handsaws, a big bloated creature which could be a mini-boss or just a beefed up normal mob. These weird scarecrow school kids, which I'd imagine would take the form of her friends or classmates, and then we get a glimpse of a potential boss creature at the end of the trailer, which could also be one of her friends or classmates. None of these look particularly frightening to me, but you might have to just sort of play it to feel it kind of thing, because I'm sure if you showed me a mannequin in Silent Hill 2 out of context back in 2001, I'd have probably said it looked goofy, but once you're in the game and the atmosphere grips you, the surrealness of it all just takes over, and yeah, it can be pretty scary. The only difference is it looks like in Silent Hill F we're going to be hammering 10 shades of shit out of these guys rather than desperately swinging in fear, and I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing yet without playing it. The story looks like it could be really interesting though, and I think the voice work sounds great. I mean, I don't speak Japanese, so I'm probably not the best person to judge, but it all sounds like it fits fine. It's a bit like how I can't watch dubbed anime, I prefer it to sound as authentic as it looks kind of thing. In terms of sound design, it's being composed by 2 separate artists, which is an interesting take. The Fog World sound design will be helmed by our beloved Akira Yamaoka, and the other world sections will be composed by Kensuke Inagi, who apparently worked on the Dynasty Warrior games and other fighting games such as Tekken 8, for example. I think it's a bit of a weird but interesting choice not to let Yamaoka-san just like do his thing on the entire game like they usually do. But the 2 composers sharing the load might make the Fog World and the other world like feel completely different from each other, and that's a pretty cool prospect in my opinion. Of course, the other element of Silent Hill games outside the combat and mysterious story are the puzzles. Some people love them and some people hate them, but they are integral to the gameplay loop of the best Silent Hill games. The game claims to feature puzzles too, and they show us a couple of what look like puzzle sections in this trailer. This one where the camera zooms in to be first person looks really weird to me because Hinako's character model just disappears as the camera zooms. I think they could tidy that up a bit so it doesn't look so clumsy and video gamey. But it's nice to know the game will feature some downtime between practicing combos on trash mobs, but how deep there will be is yet to be seen, of course. It is odd to me that they went with such a combat-focused game when they have such a competent horror story writer on board. I can only hope that all of this comes together in a satisfying way. Maybe this is the combat-focused Silent Hill game I didn't know I needed. But I do have to say my initial opinion is a little bit of a disappointed one. I was hoping for a really dark Silent Hill experience set in Japan with combat that was just as freaky as the setting, but this just doesn't seem to be that. And we've got no idea how this Japan setting will even tie into the overall lore of the game, if it even will. Are we getting the monkey's paw of finally getting the Japanese-made Silent Hill game we've wanted all these years, only for it to have to be filled to the brim with combat? This is a September release, so any feedback they get now will be almost impossible to see anything meaningfully change between now and then. I'm still going to be getting this game, regardless if they give me a review copy or not. I'm still curious enough to try it, and I hope it proves me wrong like the Silent Hill 2 remake did. But as usual, I want to get your opinions on this, so please leave me a comment and let me know what your gut reaction to this was. Do you want a Silent Hill Souls-like game? Are you happy with the hits done? But until next time, I'll see you when I'm looking at you. Thank you for watching.